our What's Next community on Facebook. We are so glad to have you here at our Stabilize, Strengthen, and Succeed Summit, our first one for 2021. And if you haven't been with us before, the five of us, Kathy, Albert, Cheryl, Bob, who is currently not on screen, and I, we got together almost 2 years ago now, and we had this idea that we could help each other with our businesses. And we've been doing that, meeting regularly on a regular basis, and thought, what could we do to bring a community of people together and help them grow in their businesses? And so our summit started just last year. We did 2 events, one in the summertime and one in December, and we're kicking off our 2021 season today. And so each of us gets about 10 to 12 minutes of stage time to share a little bit of insights about how we can help you with your business in the areas of leadership, productivity, sales, and whatever else something comes to mind for one of us. And then at the end, we have an opportunity for Q&A. So with that, let me introduce our first speaker for today. Have you returned to your comfort zone yet? Not really an option, huh? So our first speaker will share an essential strategy successful leaders adopted in 2020 to ensure they were not left in the dust facing one of the most challenging times of our generation. Kathy Kalesha began her career in corporate America in the hospitality industry, where she gave 22 years of service to her customers and employees. She became a successful and respected leader as a result of a lot of hard work, making valuable mistakes, and with the mentorship and coaching of leaders who took her under their wing. So she has spent the last decade inspiring her clients and audiences to get out of their own way and become confident, assertive leaders without the need to apologize. Please help me welcome Kathy Kalesha.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. First question of my talk here. What did you miss most in 2020? What did you miss most in 2020? Do you know it's quite possible that one of your favorite spots to shop or to eat may actually be gone if you haven't checked them out yet? Pier 1 was one of my favorite stores to shop at. Was it one of yours? How about Papyrus? It was one of those kind of kitschy greeting card specialty stores, you know, nice soft paper, different colors. Gone. Here in Las Vegas, Ricardo's Restaurant, it's a Mexican restaurant. They called it quits early on in the pandemic. They were doing fine, or as good, I guess, as you could do, doing takeout. But once they told the restaurants they could open up with just a percentage of occupancy, they had to make a tough decision to not move forward in their business because they couldn't see a way financially to get there. So after all those years of being one of the spots that families visited in Las Vegas for Mexican food and special events, they closed their doors. Today, Fry's Electronics ceased operations in all 31 of their locations. They had been in business for 36 years. They too were a family-owned business. In comparison to Fry's, in Q3 of 2020, Best Buy had their best quarter in 25 years of business. Isn't that amazing? The difference? Fry's didn't innovate its online operations as rapidly as its competitors, one of those competitors being Best Buy. Now, you and I weren't there, right, in the boardroom with the Fry's executives. I imagine them sitting in a boardroom. We weren't there for their decisions. We weren't there as they had those discussions of what to do. Did they postpone decisions? Were they decisive? We don't know how they got to where they are today, having to close all of their operations pretty much overnight. What we do know is that some of their competition is doing better than ever. There are a lot of examples of organizations that have thrived and disappeared as a result of our world events. So how is the health of your business? And even more specifically, how would you rate your ability to make decisions in your business and in your life? To be decisive, is that something you're able to do? Take a moment and think about someone you've worked with or worked for that you would have considered indecisive. Maybe you even thought they were a little wishy-washy. Think about that person. How did it make you feel to work for or with someone who was indecisive and wishy-washy? And if you do me a huge favor, share that in the chat. How did it feel to work for someone who was indecisive or wishy-washy? Go ahead and share it in the chat. Confusing? Absolutely. It sucked. Yeah. Frustrating. Oh no, somebody just said, well, you guys can see the chats, right? No direction. I ask this question quite a bit of my audiences, and the one word that comes up the most is frustrating and frustrated. Confusing, chaos are other words that come up. It's a challenge for everyone. Probably the person who can't make the decisions, who is indecisive, but also for the people that report to them. Now, back to you. Are you decisive? Are you able to make decisions? How do the people that work for you, or how do your clients and customers feel about your ability to be decisive? Would they say that you're wishy-washy? If you are indecisive, are you causing those same feelings for the people around you? Not intentionally, but it is the result. One of the biggest complaints I've gotten from attendees in my events was the feeling of being stuck. Some of them were stuck leaders, but some of them were stuck associates. And they weren't in a role or not in a role that has the power to make business decisions. They worked for stuck and wishy-washy leaders. So how do you get better at making decisions? The best way to do it is to start making decisions. Harvey Mackay, who wrote Swim with the Sharks, I know many of you have heard of this book. He says, I'm going to paraphrase here, you only have to be right 51% of the time to be ahead when you're making decisions. So the bottom line is being decisive and making decisions is like a muscle. So just like doing bicep curls, you have to start using that muscle to build up its strengths. So you just have to start making decisions. And you just make one decision at a time. They can be small decisions. They can be decisions not just in your business, but in your personal life. And but each time you make one decision, you get better at making decisions. You build up your competence in doing it. And by building up your competence in making decisions, you build up your decision-making confidence. So competence does equal confidence. And that is one of the biggest challenges I hear from leaders is they lack confidence in making decisions. And so the best way you can gain confidence in making decisions is to just start doing it and practice, practice, and practice. So to become a better decision maker, you just have to start. So here's the problem with waiting to make a decision. That actually is a decision, and it appears to be decisiveness. So waiting to make a decision or stalling on a decision is a decision, but it does look like decisiveness or indecisiveness. It looks like wishy-washiness. So let's go back to March 16th, 2020. That was the day the world turned upside down for me. You may have been, give or take a few days or a week here and there, but that was the date for me. And I remember calling a couple of my friends who were on the road, and I was not on the road that week. And I called them on a Sunday night, the 15th, and I said, I'm going to predict that you're not going to make it through the week traveling and you're going to get called back. And they were like, yeah. The next morning, Monday morning, one of them texted me and said, oh my gosh, you're right. We are teaching today. We're getting on planes tonight or tomorrow and heading home. So I'm an independent contractor. I teach classes. Within an overnight process, the organization decided to go from in-person learning to online. Overnight, a complete turnaround in the business. So we had to learn new technology that week. Now, there were already people, though, that next day that were teaching. So there were some people on a short list. I wasn't on it, but I did go to training classes that week. And we went to classes. And I remember within a couple days, I sent an email and I was like, hey, how do I get on the schedule? Because I was supposed to work that next week, but everything got canceled. My calendar got wiped out in a matter of a moment. So I emailed them and said, hey, how do I get on the calendar? How do I get into the classroom? They said, do you want to teach or moderate? I said, I'll do whatever you need. Just put me in coach. So I was back on the schedule that next week when I was supposed to be working anyways. See, we're entrepreneurs as independent contractors. So it's up to us to make sure we're working our business. And when your calendar gets wiped out, you can imagine it's a disaster. And I know some of you were in that situation. Well, here's the thing. There are some people that were just like me who did not get to those training classes. They did not learn the technology. They waited for the 3 weeks to pass. And we all know what happened with that story. That 3 weeks never came. And so that lack of a decision or indecisiveness or putting off a decision, cost most of them 3 months of calendar work, 3 months, because they missed the window to take action. They missed the window to make a decision. Sounds like that might have been what happened to Fry's. Maybe. We don't really know. We don't know why they made those decisions. We don't know what Fry's did to make decisions, but it looks similar. But in their cases, the independent contractors, they were able to get back on board. With Fry's, they weren't so lucky. So one essential strategy for your business in 2021 is to be decisive and take action. Strengthen your decision-making and action-taking muscle. Build your confidence taking action. And as a result, you will become a more confident, decisive leader. And I have 2 suggestions to do just that. Number 1 is read the book, The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. Amazing book, and you can apply her strategy overnight. Number 2 is to join the 5-day decisiveness challenge. It starts Monday. All you need to do is sign up, and I will send you all the details. There will be a daily short live lesson, some homework to get you making decisions right away, moral support, and camaraderie in a Facebook group, which will be private. Simply visit the link in the chat and I will send you all the details. All right, go out there and be more decisive and flex that decisiveness muscle.
Great job, Kathy. Well done. I was just trying to get you off spotlight. I think I did too. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Making sure I got the buttons correct here. And thanks very much for kicking us off in a positive, influential way. Definitely need to start taking decisive action. I hit that mute button as fast as I could to get off mute. So that takes us to speaker number 2. It's Albert Chang. When Albert began his career in the corporate world 7 years ago, he was reporting to 11 individuals during his first year alone. Since then, he has reported to nearly 100 and has observed the common traits that certain managers possessed to create a positive environment for employees to thrive. He is the host of the Enabling Boss podcast, available on all podcast players of your choice. And today he will be talking about the need for trust between employees and their boss. Please help me welcome Albert Chang.
As Tim mentioned, I've been working in the corporate world for the last 7 years, and I'm currently leading a team of employees. Now, when you take a look at me, is this the image of someone who would be working at an office in a white collar job in the corporate world? Perhaps you might be expecting maybe one of these, or maybe you might be expecting the use of probably one of these. By the way, this is how I look even when I was at the physical office space pre-COVID, minus the hair, which was a new addition 11 months ago. Just because someone wears a nice suit with the slick hair does not automatically mean that they're high-performing employees. At the end of the day, it is just an image, trying to portray a certain narrative. The image may not be congruent with the substance on the inside of each individual. Speaking of images, employees sometimes will naturally take on a workplace persona, different from when they're at home, trying to stand out and get ahead as you move up through the corporate ladder. And there are several challenges that arise as a result. First, from a psychological perspective, it takes up a lot of energy to try to put up an act. Trying to stop yourself from being you for 8 hours a day is exhausting. But more importantly, there's that potential when you are in a managerial position that your relationship with your employees can be built on false pretenses. You could become permanent strangers with distance in between. What is something that your parents constantly told you as a child? Stay away from strangers, don't talk to strangers, because you can't trust one. When it comes to boss-employee relationships, you are less likely to go the distance for your boss from whom you don't have that sense of familiarity with. The employees may not be as motivated to complete tasks for someone that they have no sense of connection with. Trust between boss and employee is sacred. Trust is a must. The overall goal when you're a boss is to have a workforce where your employees are engaged with the boring tasks. And honestly, most 9-to-5 jobs are boring, uninspiring, but they need to be completed. And when you can get them to a place where they're engaged, then that leads to productivity, keeps turnover low, and it equals cost savings for companies. And here are the 3 keys to ensure trust between you as the boss and your employees. Number 1, be the real you. Be authentic. I just mentioned the workplace persona that people tend to take the minute that they walk into the office. How can you expect your employees to trust you if you're going to put on an act? Employees can find out really easily once you're outside the work environment of what you're really like at work events, especially when alcohol is involved. So there was one executive Jack that I had been reporting to 5 years ago. And I've been reporting to him virtually to begin with for several months because we work in different countries. So I'm up in Canada and he was out in Pittsburgh. And one day he made his way up here to Toronto because the major client is up here. And I got to meet him. And after our work was completed, we went off to a social event with the rest of the team. That's where he got to show off his potty mouth. F-bombs, left, center, right. Was I shocked? Absolutely not. Getting to know him virtually, I already knew that's the way he talked, like a regular person. He was the same person in the work environment as he was outside, and that's something I appreciated. And some of the most authentic bosses I've ever had were the ones who use profanity the most. Not directed at anyone, of course, but they're just being who they are, just talking normally. And it's not surprising that I had a lot of trust in Jack, because there are actually several studies that show People who swear are actually more trustworthy individuals because they're not hiding anything, they just let it all out. I was naturally motivated to do the boring tasks for him and these other bosses as I enjoyed their company. Now, I'm not definitely encouraging you or anything to go out and start using profane language in front of your employees or anything. If you're not that type of person, then doing so would actually be inauthentic because that's not you. That's the idea of being the real you. Another specific way that people act in the work environment is with their tone towards their peers. The second key to building trust is to have a consistent tone. How do you interact with everybody within your organization? Do you talk to everybody, no matter if they're below at the same level or your superior? I've had bosses in the past who would talk to me with a condescending tone at all times, and then all of a sudden do a 360 when they talk to someone higher up with the excessive flattery. I remember one day I was having a meeting with one of my bosses in my early years, Irene, who would talk down to all of her staffers. And so I wasn't left out. And it was no different during our conversation one day. And then 2 minutes later, we were on a call with Jim, who was another executive within the company. And then bam. Oh, hi, Jim. How are you? How are the kids? I hear you're going to Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii. Let me give you some tips on where to eat. I was like, oh my goodness, who is this person? People know when they're being talked to like this, with the excessive, inauthentic flattery. These other people are also humans. Treat them like one. I'm sure that they would like that as well. And on the other side, don't talk to anybody with that condescending tone as well. Show them the respect because you never know. One day, those individuals can become your boss in a twist of fate. I was thankful I was only reporting to Irene for a small portion of my duties. If it was any larger, I probably would have been long gone. I couldn't trust a person who had multiple personalities in the office place because I didn't know which person would be showing up on any given day. As a result, I wasn't motivated to do great work for her, even though I put in maximum effort in my tasks. Always engage with anyone in your organization the same way, no matter where they stand. And while tone is important, but also the words that are used. Third key to earning or building trust is to avoid the lip service. Don't make empty promises for the sake of trying to energize your employees in the short run. It might work for a small portion of the time, but it will come back to haunt you in the long run because it only creates resentment amongst your employees. And it's going to become obvious when you don't deliver on all the big talk. They eventually, when you speak, will start to ignore you as your words will go in one ear and out the other. Approximately 5 years ago, we had a new department head. The previous ones had moved on very quickly. He came in knowing that the environment was not the greatest. We had high turnover. And his first words on his first day was, all right, everybody, I want to get to know you. I'm going to do this survey that I'm going to conduct. It's going to allow me to make this place where you want to be, where you are going to get energized and blah, blah, blah. Well, that survey never happened. People continued to quit. Nothing changed. In fact, there was a month under his watch where 10 people left to work for one of our competitors because they were on a massive hiring spree. And that figure doesn't include the amount of people who actually applied for those positions, the amount of people who got interviews. 10 was the only amount of spots available. He talked a big game, and it turned out to be the same as everyone. And not surprisingly, we all start to tune him out. The effect this had was that any subsequent person taking on that same position, the department head, had it harder each time nothing was done by the current department head. Because if the new person coming in wanted to earn the trust of the department, they would have to actually over deliver even more because of the repeated disappointment from the previous folks. And it is unfair to them since they haven't had a chance to prove themselves. But that's a natural reaction. You are better off in making no promises at all if you cannot deliver. Don't give false hope in trying to gain temporary engagement. Building trust with your employees takes time, effort, and energy. It's not something that can be achieved overnight. Make sure that you are the same person at your workplace as you are outside. Have a consistent tone with everyone in your organization, no matter what level they are. And make sure, if you make promises, that you are able to back it up with actions. Building trust with your employees will go a long way in having a workforce where they are engaged, where they become productive, and where they end up staying with your company a lot longer. All of which will lead to cost savings. I wish you all the best in 2021.
Whoop, whoop. Albert, thank you. I was going to give up cursing for Lent. Now I don't have to. And I want to just tell you that Cheryl can check that box off too. We are definitely more likable and trustworthy because we have potty mouth. This is like the best news ever. Raise your hand if you're potty mouth. Oh, just
Proudly.
two of us. Okay, three.
Proudly.
Proudly. All right. Even David Burston got a little, yeah. We know he was cursing looking for new offices last week. Awesome. All right. After years of begging for donations for animal rescue, our next speaker came across the term cause marketing and has been studying it ever since. She now works with businesses that want to improve their visibility, their favorability, and ultimately their bottom line, all while making our community a better place to live. She earned a master's degree in forensic psychology, wow, from John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and is the author of 8 books, including Do Good to Do Better, the Small Business Guide to Growing Your Business by Helping Nonprofits. She is a passionate animal advocate, serving as the Director of Communications for Hearts Alive Village Animal Rescue, and she believes that everything looks better covered in pet fur. If you're ready for the tools to improve your business and the world, please help me welcome my friend, Cheryl Green.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, guys, before we get started, let's do a little exercise here. I want you to take off your business owner hat and put on your consumer hat. Got it? Right? We're all consumers. We all buy something pretty much every day, some of us more than others. All right, with that consumer hat on, think about this. Would you be interested in purchasing from a business who supported a cause you care about? No? Okay. Would you be more likely, price, quality, and service being comparable, to purchase from a business that supports something you care about over a business that's just in it for the money? Yeah, right? Kind of seems like a no-brainer. Welcome to Cause Marketing. Feel free to take your consumer hat off, put your business owner hat back on. All right, so Cause Marketing is a business and a nonprofit working together for the benefit of both. It's a business that stands up for a cause, that supports a nonprofit, and that does better in the process. Because when you do good, you'll do better. So today, we're going to discuss 2 of the benefits you can expect to receive from Cause Marketing. And you'll learn 5 easy steps so that you can actually incorporate it into your business tomorrow. All right, so let's talk about some benefits, right? Because we want to see that this actually does something for us as business owners. It's very nice to give, but if we don't get anything back in return, we can't give for very long. So one of the main issues that we see in businesses is there's so much competition, right? Especially if you do networking events and things like that, you're probably used to talking to about, I don't know, 7, 8, 40 insurance salesmen, real estate guys, mortgage guys, financial services. If you live in the speaker world, then leadership experts, customer service experts. Like, we have to do something to stand out from the crowd. And one of the things that I do is I work with people on content for their businesses. And I always ask them when we get started, what makes you different? One of the biggest answers that I get, I'm really good at customer service. I care about my customers. I call them back really quickly. Okay, if you have ever been in the online dating world, this is kind of akin to, I have a job, a car, and I don't live in my parents' basement. Okay, this is the bare minimum, guys. Just the bare minimum. If that is all you've got to say for your business, you need to step it up. And if you can't say that for your business, none of what I'm going to tell you is going to help. You need to go and fix that first. Okay? So, cause marketing actually helps you stand out from the crowd. A couple of years ago, I was at an event for the rescue, and this guy came up to me and he said, I love this. I want to help you through my business. I said, oh, thanks. Cool. Because I hear that about 25 times every time I go out for the rescue. But he actually called me a week later, and he said, I researched your organization. I love it. He told me this like touching story about his best friend growing up who was a pit bull, and how he really formed his childhood. And he said, I want to support you guys. And he goes, honestly, I kind of need the help too. And that brings us to the second benefit. You're actually going to get in front of more people. Think about that. You find a nonprofit that you want to work with. They now have a vested interest in you doing well, because when you do better, they do better. We do, as nonprofits, we have certain rules that we have to abide by. We can't be too markety or anything like that. But how would you like to be thanked for your support in front of 15,000 people? 15,000 people that maybe didn't know that your business existed, that you existed, and they didn't know that you happen to care about the same exact thing that they do. Pretty good deal, right? That's what cause marketing does for you. Does that sound good? Sound like something that we might be able to use in our business? Okay. So at the end of this, I'm going to give you a link to download the first 3 chapters of my book, and you'll get to see all the other reasons why you need cause marketing. But for now, let's dive into how do you actually put this into practice. And quick 5 steps. You're going to start out by choosing your cause. 2 different ways to do this. You can choose your cause based off of something you care about. Personally, that's what I recommend. You maybe have this amazing story. Mine animals saved my life. I'm going to support them the rest of my days. Maybe you struggled financially in your childhood. Maybe homeless people that you care about. Maybe you lost somebody to cancer. Maybe children's literacy matters to you. Whatever it is, find something you truly care about, because that's going to allow you to be the most authentic. Now, the other school of thought is that you want to pick something that goes along with your business. So in order to keep your brand cohesive, you want to find something that makes sense. If you're a restaurant owner, maybe you support a food bank. Okay, that's completely up to you. See what works. I personally, I'm in it for the heart, so I'll always go with something that matters to you. But And even better if those two actually cross over, that'd be wonderful. The next thing you're going to do is inventory your business. Okay, 3 categories: time, talent, and treasure. What do you have to offer? Every nonprofit loves money. No one will ever turn away your money. We appreciate it. It can go into everything. But we might also need either products that you have, skills that you have, volunteer hours that you can give. So figure out what it is that your business can actually offer and make note of that. It's going to be important in a little bit. Your next step is to find a charity to work with. Now, of course, when you think about this from the awareness and getting in front of people, the immediate thought is, oh, I want to work with a huge national charity that can get me in front of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. And that would be lovely if it worked. But your $50 donation, your $100 donation, your $1,000 donation means absolutely nothing to them. Sorry. So they're not very likely to help you get in front of people, which is why it's great to choose a local organization. In fact, there was a Cone study about cause marketing and buying habits, and they said 91% of people that were surveyed said you should support an issue in the community where you do business. There's always a charity that you can find. Maybe you absolutely love that sounds bad. You absolutely want to end breast cancer. Yes, there's your laugh for the day, folks. You want to end breast cancer. You want to support research. Maybe you don't go for Susan G. Komen. They do wonderful things, but you're not going to do much for them. Instead, find a local organization. There's one out here that I think it's called Send Me on Vacation, where they give breast cancer survivors these dream vacations. So find something you care about and then find a local way to support it. All right, here's one of the most important things. Base the program off the nonprofit's needs. People love to give. People love to contribute. They love to help. What they don't often take into consideration is that the nonprofit may not need what you have. We get constant calls at the animal rescue for blankets. Do you need blankets? We have blankets. We have blankets coming out of our noses. So find something that you can give that the nonprofit actually can benefit from. And I know it sounds silly, but you'd be amazed at how many times a nonprofit has offered something that they can't do anything with, or that it's actually going to take them more time and effort and manpower to process and to deal with than the benefit they're going to get from it. Okay, number 5 is the most important. Talk about it. A lot of us, we think, oh, if we talk about the good things we do, it's going to take away from it. It's going to make us self-serving. It's going to make people think badly of me. Okay, other than Kathy and anybody who may be on my social media, did you know about Hearts Alive Village before this? No, you had no idea until Kathy read my introduction and I started talking about animal rescue. You didn't know it existed. When you talk about the cause and the nonprofit, the charity that you support, you're actually helping them because you're bringing awareness. So it's not self-serving. Talk about it, scream it from the rooftops. The first rule of cause marketing is not the same as the first rule of Fight Club. Okay, you want to talk about it. You want to tell people what's out there and how when they do business with you, you're actually going to help this nonprofit. And that means that they are actually a hero to whatever population they serve. If you don't talk about it, the nonprofit may get money, but they don't get awareness. And you're just losing out on half of that. All right, so if you're looking for a way to differentiate yourself from the competition, and to get your brand in front of more potential customers. Find a nonprofit to support. Consider cause marketing as part of your business, because when you do good, you'll do better. Thank you.
Ooh, I lost my mouse there. Ah, I'm stuck with this image of blankets coming out of my nose or your nose. I'm going to try to move past that.
If that's what you took away and that's what you're going to remember, I'm okay with that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, and if you stick around with Cheryl, you might even get to foster a couple dogs or cats, I guess, but mostly dogs is what they need fostered. So thank you, Cheryl. Very insightful. So we're talking about growing revenue through giving, right? Doing good work. Now let's continue the conversation about growing your revenue. In a recent Gartner article, research shows that only 6% of chief sales officers, CSOs, say they are extremely confident about their team's ability to meet or exceed revenue goals. That means there must be a lot of sales leaders who are stressed about hitting their target this year. What can we do to reduce the stress and perhaps drive more sales? Our next speaker is on a mission to help influence $100 million in top line revenue for B2B sales professionals. Tim Barnaby, a B2B sales advisor, works with sales professionals that are looking to capitalize on a better way to hone their sales skills, leading to meeting and exceeding their targets. Today, he will share one key concept that you can take away and implement in your business that will help you make your sales grow. Please help me welcome another amazing friend of mine, Tim Barnaby.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you again, everybody, for coming out today. So today, I want to talk about prospecting because we've been through so much in the last 12 months. We probably are at a point in our business where we need to start thinking about how we grow it compared to how we did in 2020. Now, one of the things you want to consider is the mistakes that you could make when you're prospecting for a new business. It's like you're spinning your wheels and going nowhere. Or better yet, it's like being in the wrong line only to end up at the front of the line and realize I've been in the wrong line the whole time. And now I got to go start all over again in another line. It's frustrating, it's painful, and yet sometimes we end up having to go through it. So rather than stuff our sales funnels with a whole lot of people that perhaps we don't need to be doing business with or we don't want to necessarily do business with, let's fill our pipeline with people that we actually feel would be a good prospect for us to do business with. So today, let's talk about this in the context of the Subway sandwich shop. Now, if I say Subway sandwich shop to you, you likely know what I'm talking about. And if you've never been to a Subway sandwich shop, just saying it out loud, Subway sandwich shop, you get the idea that you're probably going to go somewhere to eat. Either you're going into that shop to eat or go to the bathroom. Those are the likely two outcomes. Now, if we were to think in terms of the Subway sandwich shop being our B2B business, and somebody comes into our shop, the likelihood that they're coming to eat, meaning that the problem they're trying to solve is that they're hungry, are we going to start talking about the franchise owner and how he thought this was the perfect locale because it had the beautiful view of the forest? Or perhaps we're going to talk to them about how we got all of these wonderful decorations for our store from the catalog that's been updated most recently. And have you seen the fountain over there? How you can get so much free pop? No, these are all things that are relevant per se to the person in front of us. Their problem is that they're hungry, and somehow we have to overcome that and understand what it is that they want to eat. So this is what I'm talking about from a prospecting perspective. They don't care about our products and services. They don't care about where we came from and the buildings that we have. They don't even necessarily care about the references that we have in our business. They want to know, can you solve my problem? And so when we put it in that context, when we think about our potential customers in the element of, can we help them solve their business problem, then prospecting becomes a little easier for us because we're narrowing in on a very specific issue and how we get them to the end state. So this is really inspired by the book Gap Selling by Keenan. And we'll have a non-affiliate link to the book in the show notes here. Because for me, it really changed the way I thought about selling. And Keenan breaks it down for us in a way in which I hadn't really thought about it before, especially from my experience as being a procurement professional. There were times that I had to listen to multiple pitches, and yet nobody was hitting on the elements of what Keenan explains in this book. And the way he thinks about prospecting is he breaks it down and says, you really need to answer 4 specific questions to have a well-qualified lead. So let's walk through what those are. First, as I've alluded to, the one thing you want to make sure that you have addressed is, does my potential customer have a problem? It could be a business problem or a technical problem, but we're going to focus our questioning around what is that problem that they're facing? Is it something to do with how they're growing their sales or their revenue? Is it having to do with employee turnover? Is it having to do with reducing the amount of inventory that they have? What is the business problem that they are facing? And once we've identified what the problem is that they're facing, then we have to make sure that the potential customer agrees with that business problem. Because again, we're going to be speaking to them about the problems per se, not our products and services, not about the features and benefits of what it is that we're offering, but that business problem specifically. And so this is something they may have thought of already, but it's also uncovering pieces of their business that they may not have considered, because as business owners and people who are in the leadership roles of businesses, they generally have lots going on, people to manage, budgets to manage, trying to figure out where they're going to take their next product or service into market. They may not necessarily be as entrenched in their own business as what you are and what you offer to them. And so when you start speaking to them about their business and the challenges that they're facing, we need to uncover some of that challenge that they're facing to which they may not have considered before. And through your questioning, you might get them to reflect on it and say, that's right. Quoting Chris Ross from his book, Never Split the Difference, right? You don't want a "you're right," you want a "that's right." So when you factor in those types of questioning elements so that you've identified what the problem is and gotten them to agree, you've got 2 main questions answered in the prospecting process. The third question that you want to have answered is, does the prospect want to solve the problem? And this might sound a little funny, because if we've identified what the problem is and they agree that it is a business problem, why wouldn't they want to fix it? If I were to come to you in your business and say, we've identified or uncovered a problem in your business that is costing you $100,000, you might look at something like that and go, wow, that's amazing, $100,000. That's something that I never really thought about in that context. And yeah, I probably want to solve it. If you have a $1 million business, maybe even a $5 million business. But if you're talking about a $10 or $50 or $100 million business, a $100,000 savings or cost avoidance problem might be a rounding error for them. And their effort and energy involved in going through and working with you might not be worth the effort in which to solve. Not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying we not only need our prospective customers to agree that the problem exists, but that they are now willing to want to go forward and solve that problem. So we identify what the problems are. We want our prospective customer to agree that they have the problem, and we get them to acknowledge and understand and agree that they want to solve the problem. Then the fourth question that we want to have answered is, do they want to go on the journey with you in order to solve the problem? Now, if you have had a constructive conversation around the first three questions, the likelihood of them wanting to go on the journey with you has probably gone up significantly, because you are going to stand out in your sales process by having a business conversation around their business and how you can help them solve a business problem that they're currently facing, versus talking about the features and benefits of a product that they may be aware of or may not, and they might not necessarily be thinking about whether they want to have it added or not. So these four questions: do you have a business problem that you can solve for your prospective customer? Do they agree that they have that business problem? Do they want to solve that business problem? And do they want to go on the journey with you in order to solve it? Are the four key questions that you need to have answered as part of your prospecting process to ensure that you have a well-qualified lead. And if you can answer those questions successfully, your likelihood of getting to an end state, which is a closed agreement for your products or services, is going to go up. Now, if you want help with this, I created a worksheet, and you can go to timbarnaby.com/4questions. We'll put the link in the chat right now. And for the replay, it's timbarnaby.com/4 and then questions with an S at the end. And there you can download a copy of the worksheet that really highlights what these four questions are and gives you that space to make sure that you've captured all of the details around what those issues and root cause problems are, so that you're focused when you're having your prospecting conversations. And when you apply this to your sales process, you will stabilize the pipeline, you will strengthen your sales process, and you will succeed in getting more sales. If this talk has resonated with you today, it's something that I talk about on my weekly podcast, The Win the Deal Show. And you can find that on your favorite podcast player of choice. We release new episodes every Monday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you as part of the community. So I hope that you have found some value from this. And as I encourage on my weekly podcast, go out, take massive action, and win your next deal. With that, back to you, Kathy.
Yay. Now you guys know why I hang out with Tim. I surround myself with smart people, because you know what they say? You got to look at the 5 people closest to you, right? To figure out what kind of person you are. Are you surrounding yourself with people that are, enriching your life? Thank you, Tim, so much for that. I need to go listen to the podcast too. I got to get busy on that. I'll be there next Monday. Thank you for that. All right. So Bob Ramsey has helped people succeed at Adobe, Bristol Myers Squibb. These are all real tongue twisters here. Sandia Lab, and many others. Bob is an expert at teaching and using the Kohler effect to motivate people. His groundbreaking book, The Leadership Push, gives leaders a blueprint to motivate extraordinary performance. Today, you will learn 3 proven steps to create an unbelievable future and achieve more in your business and in your life. Help me welcome my last friend to come on today, Bob Ramsey.
Thanks, Kathy. Hello, everybody. I'd like you to imagine for a minute that you could start where you are and double or triple the results in your life. Start where you are, double, triple, quadruple the results in your life. And I've got 3 tips for you, 3 disciplines really that you can employ starting immediately and start that doubling and tripling. And here's the 3 ideas. Think big, take small incremental steps, and record your activity. Think big, take small steps, record your activity. And it's so simple, but it's such a big idea. And these 3 steps have helped me achieve more. Every time I've achieved more, I've done these 3 things. So let's talk about each of those. Think big. Sometimes, I don't know about you, but I routinely give in to mediocre thinking. In other words, I think big, and then my dreams get dumbed down a little bit, and I kind of start thinking small again. But thinking big really is a powerful, powerful idea. In the work I've done with companies around the country, I ran into one a few years ago. They did oil field chemical sales. They put chemicals down oil and gas wells to make them more environmentally sound or make them produce better. And their business model was they'd send these salespeople out to energy companies. They would call on the energy company. They would propose to treat a well, and they would get about $10,000 a month in revenue if they were to win the deal. And occasionally they'd have a salesperson that would sell a 2-well deal. And the biggest sale they have ever had in the whole history of the company, one guy about 3 or 4 years prior sold 3 wells at one sitting. So they hired a bunch of salespeople, and there was this one guy. He wasn't really slick, but he was honest, and he was hardworking, and he was humble, and he learned his pitch a little bit. And then he went out to call on an energy company. He sat down and gave his a pitch to do these wells, and the president of the energy company said to him, "Well, how many wells do you want to get started with?" And the guy didn't know about the 1 or 2 well idea. So he said, "Well, how about 200? And the president thought a minute and he said, "Okay, let's do it." So he took a 200 well order back to the home office, turned it in, and when the owner told me this, he said, "What the heck? I didn't even know a 200 well sale was possible." And it changed their whole company. That guy got commission on that. It changed his entire life. It changed the whole town, actually. It was a little town in Kansas. And it's just amazing how he accidentally thought big and won a big reward for doing that. This is phenomenal to me, too. The 4-minute mile. People ran the mile run for years and years and years and years until 1954, and nobody ever ran a sub 4-minute mile. And then that year, 1954, one guy did it. And later that year, somebody else did it. The next year, several other people did it. And within a couple of years, hundreds of people were running the 4-minute mile, including high school kids and men over 40 years old. Now, what happened in 1954? Did people get faster for some reason in 1954? Or did they just not think big before that? They started thinking big because one guy broke the barrier. And so then from then on, that was the new standard, right? So again, the power of thinking big. So how can we do that? I want to really encourage you to get a card or a piece of paper and write down these 3 ideas. And so you can really just make some notes on how can I think big? How can I start thinking bigger in every area of my life that I want results in? Because thinking big is the first big step. Okay, so think big. And thinking doesn't get you anywhere. You've got to take action, right? We all have to take action. But if we think big and then try to take big actions, that's frustrating. What we need to do is think big and then take small little actions, small little steps. February about 5 years ago, I think maybe 5 years ago, here in St. Louis, I'm in the basement of my house, actually, in Metro East St. Louis. And we've got a river that runs through here, the Mississippi, and there are a bunch of bridges that cross that river. And one morning, it was a cool, misty morning in February, and the commuters were going across the bridge, 70 miles an hour, going across the bridge, but the temperature was dropping and it was drizzling. And it was dropping from 35 degrees to 34 degrees to 33 degrees. And about 6:40 in the morning that morning, all the announcers on TV were saying this. The bridge is going to freeze. The bridge is going to freeze. You better slow down. And the bridge froze and people were still going 70 miles an hour. And wham, 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 wham. There was a 28 car pileup on the main bridge going across the river because of 1 degree difference. Just 1 degree made a huge difference to those 28 cars. I don't know if you remember this, but there was a ship in the North Atlantic in 1912 that was plowing through water that was doing just fine until it hit a piece of water that was just 1 degree difference. And the Titanic went down, right? Because if that would have been 1 degree warmer, they would have had not any trouble. And so that's the thing about 1 degree, small changes. Think big, but make small actions. So let's boil this down to time management. If you think about 1% of the day, it's about 14 minutes. 14 minutes is 1% of the day. Now, can you make a big difference making a discipline where you do 14 minutes something for 14 minutes? Like, what if you exercise at a drop dead rate for 14 minutes a day and that's all you did? Would that make a difference? I can guarantee you it will. What if you made cold calls for 14 minutes a day? What if you did any discipline and you said, I'm just going to do this for 14 minutes a day and see if that makes a difference? Well, I can tell you, if you think big about an idea, you get a big goal and you start to do 14 minutes at a time, you'll see huge, huge improvements. That's the key thing. A few years ago, I started P90X. It's an exercise program. One of my customers challenged me to do it. And I don't know if you've ever done it before, but it's P90X is a 90-day plan. And it's the exercises for an hour. And the first day I did it for 45 minutes. And the next day after that, I couldn't get out of bed. And the next day after that, I couldn't get out of bed. And so the next time I did it, I said, I got to take some smaller steps. And so I did it for about 10 minutes, but I kept at it, right? I kept at it. And then I got it bigger and bigger. And so that's the kind of thing that consistency really is important, which brings me to our third idea. The third idea is you got to record your activity. If you think big and you take small incremental actions, 14 minutes a day, but you don't write it down, some days can go by and you cannot do your 14 minutes. Ever happened to anybody else? It sure happened to me. There's things that I've decided to do and I just determined to do it. And then a week goes by and I'm thinking, now I can't remember the last time I exercised. I can't remember the last time I ate an apple. I can't remember the last time I made cold calls. That's a recipe for failure, right? So recording your activity is really key here. Actually, in the P90X program, they give you a sheet that you record your, when you do a workout, you write it down, you put the date, you record your activity. This is a thing that most successful people do. They keep a time journal. Keeping a time journal is a great tip to actually record what you do. Because if you record things, then it becomes real, and you can go back and look at it. You can measure whether you were consistent in your efforts or not. Mark Ford, the famous author, was not doing so well, and then he started doing really well, making a lot of money. And when he started, what happens to people who make a lot of money? They start to spend a lot of money. And so he was making a lot of money, spending a lot of money, and not getting ahead financially at all. So he went to his accountant, and his accountant said he was afraid his accountant was going to really scold him and put him on a budget. Accountant says, no, I'm not going to do that at all. Here's what we're going to do. You come in once a month, and we're just going to look at your financials. We're just going to look at them. We're going to record it. So Mark Ford did that. And the first month, he didn't make any progress at all. His net wealth didn't go up, even though he was making lots more money. But the next month, what did he do? Everybody knows what he did. He was thinking all month about that trip to the accountant and how he would have to say and look at the financials in front of his accountant. And so he decided to put off that car purchase or put off that vacation for a couple more days. And then all of a sudden that his numbers started going up because he was looking at the results he was doing. This is a phenomena, I think. When just recording activities creates accountability inside yourself. Here's a study. A study was done on people who wanted to lose weight. And they had one group of people who tried to lose weight, but didn't record their results. And another people who wanted to lose weight, and all they did was weigh themselves every morning. No diet, no exercise. The people who measured their activity lost more weight than the people who were trying to lose weight. I just think that's unbelievable. And so I weigh myself every morning. This morning I weighed 182.2. Now I have to tell you that I'm up over 180 pounds since the pandemic. But it affects my cookie eating in the evening. It absolutely does. Because I know I'm going to have to get on that scale again. And I actually have a client who's doing this too. He's weighing himself every day. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to have to text Aaron my weight. So I better do that, right? I better just, cut back on my number of cookies. So anyway, these are 3 big ideas. They've helped me a lot. Think big, take small incremental steps, and record your activities. They have helped me in finances, in health, in business, relationships. Those 3 disciplines have made a big difference in my life. And I know they will for you too. If you do want to connect with me, if you do want to get something free from me, I was out getting my COVID shot today. Little story behind that actually is my mother-in-law is 94 years old. And so my wife has been trying to get her a vaccination. And so yesterday she actually texted me and said, I got all 3 of us of an appointment. I said, how did you do that? She said, well, my mom could get right in. She's 94, hasn't got one yet. And the lady said, okay, that sounds good. And my wife said, well, my husband and I are caregivers, and we are. Nobody else takes care of her except us. So, boo-boo. Anyway, if you want a free book, if you want a free brochure, if you want a half-hour free coaching, give me an email, and I will. I'll just do whatever I can for you. I really appreciate your time. I hope and know that you'll have greater results in your life if you do these 3 things. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go to gallery view here so I can see everyone. I did stick Bob's email address in there. Thank you, Laura. Oh, there we go. So she's saying, yes, do it, do it. So I would love, and I know the other people here today that have spoken and shared their expertise with you would love to know maybe one takeaway that you got out of spending some time with us today. So you could share that verbally, or you could type it in the chat. We just love to hear one takeaway that kind of struck you as a result of being with us today. So if you want to unmute yourself and share that, or you could type it in the text. Who was the author that Bob mentioned? Mark Ford? Elaine would like to know, Bob. Mark Ford. All right, that's Mark Ford. Yes. And so we do have, so Laura, who is, I guess, cousins of Albert, is that what I heard? Taking the small incremental steps is very much an agile practice aligned with the inspection and adaptation cycle. Love it. All right. So great job. Great job. Anyone else willing to share either on microphone or in writing? I think David's got his hand up. So there we go, David.
Okay, we got a.
There we go. Yep.
Fantastic, fantastic. I was really disappointed that Cheryl didn't have a furry friend, up on the screen with her.
She's going to get it.
But it was a lot of food for thought there, Cheryl, because I think I do volunteering with the Toastmasters, and I volunteer for the TEDx, coaching the TEDx, but I'm not getting any mileage out of it in the business. So that's the one thing that's really made me focus. How do I position that to say, yeah, I'm into cause marketing, but nobody knows.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, because I complain about this all the time, that I give a lot of my time away for free. And I'm like, wait, all I got to do is tell people what I'm doing, because I'm doing it already, right? 3 organizations, National Speakers Association, my church, and Toastmasters. So yeah, that is a very good point. Was somebody else saying something? And then I do see in here, thanks to my cousin Albert for sharing about authenticity. Christina, I know Christina's working on a cause marketing effort in her business right now. So she did love the ingredients of cause marketing from Cheryl. And then Joyce Rice, be decisive. Anyone else want to talk? Yes, Elaine, our friend Elaine, what do you got?
Yeah, Cheryl gave me an idea of something I already talk about in my speeches and I volunteer for, but how I could help them out more and tie it to my business. I think they'd be open to it. So it would be doing improv with people with disabilities, I think.
Ah.
And that's it's a new idea for me. So I'm going to call them up and explore that. So thanks for the idea.
Nice. Yeah, and thanks for Tim for dropping in the link to we have a private Facebook group that he just dropped the link in the chat there. So we'd love for you to join us there. I forgot I need to record my results. So Colin added that. So record the results of his efforts. And Dana, did I see your hand up, or was I just imagining that? Nope. All right. Anyone else? Well, we do thank you for joining us. We would love it if, for those of you that are in the Facebook group, if you'd be willing to go in and put a positive comment if you thought today was beneficial to you on the recording that we have. There's Daniel Kim. Do you want to say something, Daniel?
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Hey,
Welcome.
Jesse. I actually not to join the group. I do actually go sometimes watch the Facebook Live event. So I listen to that a lot too.
Oh, you've been watching the 77-day challenge?
No, like every Tuesday or Thursday they come out. You guys have a special session for like a 1 hour session between?
I'm not sure. Does somebody here do that? Maybe, maybe not. But thank you for being here. So you must have found us in our group then. So we do appreciate you being here. Any takeaways from the day, Daniel? Like what was to you, what stood out?
I mean, everybody had a really great, amazing comments. Team Barmy, amazing coaching ability as well to inspire other people and do incremental things, as well as Bob Ramsey, talking about how people can lose weight just by tracking it. That's very important to understand. And Cheryl Green, obviously, inspiring how to do marketing and promote like animal, promote health support with the support groups. I appreciate that. I wasn't listening.
It
And
doesn't
stuff.
have to be just animals.
I know. Yeah.
So if you got some benefit out of being here today, we'd love it if you're in joining our Facebook group and put a comment on that video there. We'd love some testimonials. And then Dana, did you want to say something?
Well, I just want to say how absolutely adorable Cheryl's assistant is. And I think that we all could benefit from having an admin that's as cute as that.
Yeah. My admin loves to bark in very important times, but she did not do today. Thank goodness. So thank you for being here again, everyone. We'll stick around for a few moments if you want to talk with us as we sit here in the green room, kind of. You're in the green room with us. We do appreciate your time, and join the Facebook group, and we, click on any of those links. We'll send out the links and the recording within a day or so. I'm probably going to upload it into a YouTube. And then we hope to see you at another event soon. So thanks, everyone. And thanks to my fellow speakers here, experts, for giving their time today.